Curious for you, who has made boundaries a big focus in your life and your work, and you've heard so many stories, and what are our biggest objections as human beings to creating boundaries in our life? What are our big triggers?
Well, let's talk about the myths, because these are the things that actually get in the way. So the most common, like I will just go through them quickly, but these are the things that I've seen over the many years of doing it. Boundaries push people away. Not true. Real love needs no boundaries, right? Intimate relationship, if it's a real thing, then it's unconditional. No, it's not. Boundaries are selfish. No. Setting boundaries require you to be mean. No. Boundaries require too much time. I want to be like, dude, do you know how much time it takes to be a boundary disaster? Trust me, that takes more time. Setting boundaries requires you to say no all the time, reject people all the time. People will like you less if you set boundaries. So those are like the top 7 myths, I'd say. So let's get into, if we can, why those things are actually not true. And I think that we should establish, when I'm talking about boundaries, I'm going to give you my definition so that we're sort of on the same page. It means that you know your preferences, your desires, your limits, and your deal breakers. And you have the capability of communicating them clearly and concisely in your relationships, all of them. To me, that is being a boundary boss. We do this with ease, with grace, with love, when appropriate. Maybe not with love with your boss, but other people, right? When appropriate, it can always be done with kindness. So a lot of the fear and myths come from the fact that people who don't talk true, as I like to say, about how they feel, or wait too long to express that a boundary has been crossed, then we use like a sledgehammer when we could have just used like a pencil because we waited too long. And there's this cumulative effect of frustration, of anger, and of feeling like someone is taking advantage of us. But I make the distinction in the book that people fall into categories. You have your boundary first timers. Now, those are people that maybe they have been getting on your nerves, but you have never expressed with language, either written or verbal, your boundary request. So there's still a first timer because we got to give them a chance. We got to say it because you might be shocked that they might be like, maybe they're just tone deaf, right? This happens. Maybe they're just not dialed in. You know, some people are just they're not in, they can't sense, they can't read a room.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Maybe they're just on Mars, but it doesn't mean that they're trying to trample your boundary. Then you have the repeat offenders. These are the people that you have expressed a boundary with or said no, and they've tried to work down your no, continue. Oh, why don't you sleep on it? You've said no 4 times, and they're still saying that you should sleep on it and give them the answer tomorrow. No. So those are repeat offenders. So we deal with them in a different way because eventually we need to add a consequence to something, right? And then we have boundary destroyers, which is like the category that boundary bullies also fall into. Boundary destroyers, I have an entire chapter in the book because these are people where the regular rules don't apply. A lot of times it might be narcissistic personality disorder, could be a bunch of the cluster B personality disorders, could be just super difficult people who are just contrary, who are just always trying to get their way, no matter what you say. So I literally have an entire chapter because what we do with boundary first timers and repeat offenders would not work with boundary destroyers. So let's talk about boundary first timers. Once you make your boundary request known, or you set a limit, or you make a request about a preference, because these are all forms of boundaries. So I want everyone listening to get, or watching, to get it in your mind. Boundaries are really not about just saying no. They're really not. They're about having your no be authentic so that your yes can be authentic, right? It's like if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no, right? You ever hear that Marie Forleo says that? There's truth that if you have the disease to please, if you are looking for validation outside of yourself quite a bit, if you say yes when you really want to say no, that means that people can't trust you. Because they know. I know the people pleasers in my life. I was one. So trust me, people, I love you, no judgment. I was you, right? So I understand how hard it can be. But know that people know this about you. When my friend who's a people pleaser says she's going to do something, I say to my husband, yeah, Jenny said yes, but that means about 50% chance that she's in. It's okay. It's the way she is. I can accept Jenny. I love other things about her, but I don't count on her. And then I have like Lara, my best friend, who, if she's a yes, we could have talked about it 8 months ago and had a plan for like Saturday. And at that moment on Saturday, she'll be like, hey, I'm on Skype. Where are you? Like,
yeah,
she will not forget. Her yes is her bond. Her no is the truth. So I don't worry that she's lying to my face to make herself more comfortable. Because another thing, Lee, that we really love to do, and I was the queen of this, is so much of this we do under the guise of being nice. Like, I just don't want them to think I'm mean. I just want to be nice. I just want to. It's not nice to say yes when you want to say no, because what ends up happening is either we do the thing with like a begrudging energy. We're kind of keeping score. Like, yeah, she better appreciate that thing that I did that I didn't want to do, right? Or we bail at the last minute, where you say yes to things that you really don't want to. You find a way to have a headache on that day. And again, that's letting people see you as someone who they can't count on or who doesn't keep their word. And there's a lack of respect a lot of times that will happen. I remember in my young life in therapy with that therapist when I was in college, I was just telling a story about, I said I had a flat tire because I was late to work. So in the end of that session, she said, okay, so today we've established that you're a person who lies. And I was like, holy crap, am I? She was like, well, yeah, you overslept and said you had a flat tire. That's lying. And I was like, oh my God. And all of a sudden I go, Bev, I don't want to be a person who lies. She's like, okay, we'll start working on that next session. Like, she like changed it for me though,
Yeah, completely.
That is lying. So anyway, long way. I'm coming back, don't worry, to the boundary first timers. But I feel like the yes and no stuff is really important, because there is a misunderstanding in there too, that of what is it to actually be legitimately kind. It is the most loving thing that you can do to talk true in your relationships. You are giving people the honor of actually knowing you. And when we don't give them the right intel, the right data about us, they're confused. They think we like things that we don't. They think we're mad about something else because we're indirect about how we're expressing our displeasure, right? We're slamming a door or rolling our eyes or not getting back to them for 5 hours, rather than just saying, hey, I'm really upset. I want to put this on your radar. I did not appreciate. This is how I felt. I felt minimized, whatever the thing is. And I give you all the scripts. The whole chapter is just scripts. So don't worry. You'll have the words when you need them. But the most crucial part of becoming masterful at boundaries is so that people know you.